please. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to a Wolfram Language Design Review, part of our incremental language development series. First item, unit of measurement entity type.
Yep. So we started talking about this a little bit last week, and you wanted to circle back to it. We also have Alan and James here, but this is kind of a project that Eric has been shepherding for some time, which is to unify the units framework and the entity framework and sort of continue the work we did with physical constants and other things to have the unit system we have plug into our entity system as well.
What are the controversial issues here?
So I think your first concern last time was, are we just making the data easy for people to scrape, for no benefit on our end? Something Eric and I talked about is we have had some prominent user groups and also people internal in the company, particularly with things like interfaces to LLM learning, ask for how do I get a list of units? We didn't really have an answer for that. The system has an internal one, but there's no way to programmatically explore it. There's no way to say, what are the SI units we have? What are the CGS units? And this is an obvious extension that makes sense. You know, we already have data exploration through the knowledge base.
I don't know. Seems like the kind of thing we haven't had it for 15 years. Seems like the kind of thing where there's some downside risk. And what's the upside?
And Eric, did you want to jump in or you want
Yeah,
me to? Yeah.
I mean, the upside is that we put a lot of work into it over the years. Even if
And it's
somebody
good.
grabs the data, they're not going to be able to rewrite the whole system where we have everything integrated together. They would have to rewrite it from scratch. And there are various conventions that we've made along the way that they wouldn't know about. It wouldn't be easy for them to replicate. I have found it very convenient to be able to have physical constant and physical quantity as entities. It helps me
Yes.
sort of not switch my mental model between the quantity framework and the entity framework. For most stuff, I can just stay in the entity framework and it
All
just
right.
all works.
Fine. Let's do it.
Let me add that LLMs are repeatedly hallucinating unit names, and anything that exposes ways to figure out valid ones will be good.
All right. Let's do it. We have to discuss. I mean, do we know what to do here?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving along.
This next one you probably
All
won't
right.
be
I
able to
will say
read.
goodbye then. Thank
All
you,
right.
gentlemen. That
Okay,
was quick.
that's yeah, that was
All right. Well,
surprisingly
thank you,
quick.
Eric.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye.
So this is something Billy and I have been working on. We can open the subsections here, but we basically took feedback from the last time and came up with two variations on typesetting for nominal and ordinal. There's a more saturated and a more washed out version. The saturated version is obviously a little bluer, but basically looking for gut reactions and anything that,
Well, it's very tall. I don't know quite why it's quite so tall.
yeah, I should probably squish that down a bit. So the summary box forms also carry that same kind of tick notation over. Um, the space in that first one is off. That was something that's just a rendering artifact here. But the idea is, you know, we basically show how many categories there are visually
Well,
within
that
our
shouldn't be a
body.
capital C. And
Yeah.
why isn't there a colon there? Isn't it? Don't these boxes usually say blah 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 colon blah blah blah?
Okay. Yeah, I will add that in.
I thought this was called ordinal. So this is just ordinal, not
Yep.
ordinal scale. We got rid of anything
Correct.
called ordinal scale. It's
There,
now
there's the pre-existing ordinal scale scaling function, but this is basically, you know, the intention is that there's a replacement where we just have an ordinal object that represents the full scale, and then there are the ordinal instances or nominal instances that, you know, this is B from this unordered set, or this is C from this ordered set.
I don't love these things. I mean, this
Bars.
one, um, that's better.
The grayer version.
Yeah, I just don't think it needs to be as tall, though. I mean, it's kind of like, what's the point? It's just a bunch of tally stick marks or whatever. Could be
Okay.
half the height or something like that.
Okay, we could make it smaller.
Probably.
Yeah, it looked a little off weight to me when they were just a fraction of it, but we could certainly
Well,
go
maybe
back to.
that's not. Then maybe that's okay. I mean,
Mhm.
then maybe this is okay. I think the washed out version of these is okay.
Okay.
I don't know, the washed out version. Probably we could darken the ticky things down here.
Okay. Right now I have, you can kind of see with the longer text inside it is set to scale and widened a little bit as the contents get wider rather than having
Yeah. What
a
happens
long
if there are
box.
100 cases?
If there's 100 cases, basically the tick marks basically just start merging together. So like in the summary box
Can I
version right
see
above
it?
that. Yeah, so if you look, yeah, it basically looks like a solid bar like that.
I don't understand it. This thing is at some position. Why isn't there a solid bar with something highlighted in it that is the right fraction of the way across?
There will be in the ordinal case. In the nominal case, since they're unordered, it doesn't show up. And for the summary box
I see.
version, you're talking about the whole scale, so we're not giving a individual element. But yeah, it would basically look like a solid bar with a tick
Yeah, I
mark
get it. I get
partway
it. I
through.
get it. I get it.
Do these show up in a typeset expression?
Yes.
It'd
Yep.
be good to see them, especially judging the height of that footer. It'd
Hmm.
be good to see them kind of typeset with other stuff in.
Okay.
Kind of like this idea of kind of the slider thing.
Yeah, I think the only thing that my immediate concern with that is that it immediately looks interactable. Like you might try and
Yeah,
drag
right.
the slider over. It's a minor point, but we could do that where we have the solid bar across the
Well, I don't
bottom.
understand what happens if you've got 3 items here
Hmm.
and a very long string. Where does it go? Does it just have, it doesn't space them out all the way across the string, right? It should be just a little, I don't know whether it's left justified or whether it's in the middle. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was basically that's the idea with the mocks here with the another really long string version is do we have something that spans all the way across and then just delineated positions it goes to? Do we make the bars really fat like the section above it with the partial it looks like it's partially underlined another really long string. The example
No,
right
I
above
think
that.
what we have to do, look, there's a certain natural size
Mm-hmm.
that this has. If the thing gets longer than the natural size, Jeremy, I don't know what you think, whether it left justifies or whether it centers.
I'd think center, and I'm thinking like
Mm-hmm.
maximal space between, right? Instead, you just center it and there's some kind of max amount of gap that you ever
Mm-hmm.
allow.
Okay. That's
Center,
certainly
you try and
easier.
stretch it, but you don't stretch it beyond some gap size.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's easy enough.
Okay. All right. Well, again, as Jeremy says, we need to see it in situ.
Yep.
And it's hard for me to tell between. I'm sort of partial to this second one, the more washed out one,
Okay.
I think. Jeremy, do you have an opinion?
Not anything strong here. I mean, in this case, in the summary box case, I think either's fine.
Yeah, but
I
in this
like
case,
the more subtle one in the output case.
fine,
It doesn't need to be that strong, I think. Like the darker blue seems like too much.
fine. Okay,
Okay,
let's
we'll
try
go with
and
that, and then we'll
yeah,
circle
but
back
then
with
let's.
live
I want to see
examples.
some more cases where the
Yep.
thing is being shown in situ, and then also sort of more corner cases of long strings, large numbers of elements, etc.
Okay.
Sounds good. Next up. A
Right.
tale of string tails.
A tale of string tails. Yeah. So this was something I think that came up on a mailing list was, we don't effectively have a tail function where we say, I want the last n elements from either a string or a
Why isn't it just string take of minus whatever it is?
So string take is going to be characters. In this case, the tail is looking specifically at lines.
Well, it's a text tail.
Yeah,
We
I
don't have
suppose
anything. I mean, we have string lines, right?
Yep. Yeah, I guess text tail would be better. I wasn't sure if we wanted to.
What is it called? Text lines. Text lines.
Yeah.
No, that's not the right thing. What am I talking about? The thing which breaks a string into lines.
Strings
Well, string split.
split does on, but yeah, I mean that's going
I
to be a
always
white
do
space by
import
default.
string of lines, which is hacky, but that's the only way I know to do it.
Yeah, I mean that's the example a couple up from here, or you can string split on a new by.
Mhm.
You don't need to do that. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we have a bunch of text star functions that do.
Text cases, text line. Yeah. We have text paragraph. Yeah.
Yeah, but wait a minute. We have, because I've used it many times, the thing that goes, text words, right? I thought we had text lines, but I guess we don't.
We have text cases.
Sentences.
We have text cases of line.
Well, I think we should have text lines.
Text lines. I mean, that's a pretty simple utility. I think text words is just a variation of text cases anyway.
Yeah, I think we should have text lines, and then you can say -4 or something. It'll give you the last
4. Okay.
And I mean, text sentences should probably be generalized to -n. And I think this is the way to do it. Text lines -4 seems right to me. Because you might want both things. You might want the beginning, you might want the end.
And I guess we could do the same with text paragraph. Give an end spec. Have all of the text ones do that.
Now, why isn't this the right thing? Snippet.
I suppose I guess I don't think of snippet because it isn't really integrated in the same way with the other text and string functions, but
I mean, I think there's an argument.
Is snippet doing more than just looking at new lines?
Don't think so.
Because it says about n lines from the end.
Yeah, I believe there's some heuristic, but it's been a long time since I looked at snippet in detail.
I mean, it also deals with files, which text lines I don't think does, although it could. But snippet is really for getting, a little piece of something.
Yeah.
I think text lines is worth having. Seems useful to me.
Okay.
Even if it is somewhat similar to snippet, but text lines would take a string, wouldn't be a file type thing, because it would be able to give you, just the thing broken into lines, which, as you say, is equivalent to string split. Although I don't think string split.
Yeah, I mean, string split defaults to white space, so it will break it up even more than that, where text lines would not be.
Okay. Right.
You can
I use string split a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have used text words at times. Text line seems like the obvious thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's helpful to have the utility functions that text cases does, because text cases just has a lot. You have the extra argument and you have a lot of variation. So,
I don't know whether text lines should have options to deal with null lines, whether we have any options we can reuse for that.
It's a good question.
Okay. I think that's our answer here. ArrayTrim.
Mhm.
I want this function. This function is a function I rewrite a zillion times.
Yep. So I wrote, this is a basic version of it. And looking at it, I think the questions come in with what we do with multi-dimensional arrays. The version I have here basically gives you.
Look, ArrayTrim is an inverse to ArrayPad.
Right. That's kind of the way I set it up.
And so it has specified padding or something. So you're trimming with respect to a particular entity. Yes, X there.
Yep. Yeah. The default here I have is 0, but it can be whatever.
Right,
The question
pattern.
then is if you're going to say ArrayTrim to specific dimensions, where we're going to index that.
Yeah, I understand.
Well,
so how does ArrayPad work? ArrayPad specifies that in the second argument there.
Mm-hmm. But it has a natural origin because it is positioned on the input array rather than if you're trimming, where is the origin that we're trimming from? Is it basically the way I have this set up is it finds the largest non-empty rectangular array and it preserves that.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And then if you give some dimensions that don't work, I guess we would just error in that case or give some warning.
The trimming, if you were to give a string, a list pattern for what to trim to, let's say I have this two-dimensional thing, but I don't want to treat it as two-dimensional. I want to trim it as a one-dimensional list, but my trim element is going to be some complicated list thing. Probably we could make that work if the trimming element is a list. See what I'm saying?
Then we remove a dimensional or remove a level from it. Yeah. I don't think there would be any ambiguity there. If we had a three-dimensional one and you gave a two-dimensional.
What does image trim do with respect to this maximal rectangle? I think it does exactly what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Image crop, rather. Are we sure we shouldn't call this array crop? I mean, I think its natural name is ArrayTrim, but but what's the difference in image trim and image crop? Oh, I see. Image crop. Image trim is doing it based on content. Right? Image crop is just saying cut the edges off, which is not so useful for arrays, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is indeed an ArrayTrim. Yeah. Well, that's what I would do, is the maximal rectangle.
Okay.
So this would be able to remove full rows. For example, in the first example, the first row is full of zeros. So we remove the full row.
Yep.
Rather than returning an empty list there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the input or the output 2 down from that output shows it dropped just the front top row because it was empty. But because all of the columns have some data in them, it didn't drop that first column.
I mean, basically, this is doing what image trim does, but on an array, which is the same thing we've done with a lot of functions, a lot of image functions that are, if I say center array, well, no, that's some, what are there are a bunch of functions that work both on images and on arrays. I think this is fine. I mean, I think this is the useful thing, is you just get rid of a bunch of zeros on the outside. And that will show up in all kinds of just utility things. So I'm good with this. Second argument is the pattern for what you are trimming.
Yep.
And, we could conceivably have some rather precious third argument that is the maximum trimming amount and things like this, but I think we shouldn't bother.
Okay. Yeah, we can at least have the first iteration, but those are the obvious two arguments to have.
But I think
and
we
then-
could note down that the potential third argument would be a maximum trimming amount.
Okay.
What does it do if it's all zeros? Just returns a null list, right?
Yes.
Of the appropriate dimension. So it's a list of, in this particular case, it would be a list of lists of.
Yep. Yeah, for 2D input, it would be a null array, I guess.
Okay. Sounds good. Did we get through our agenda? That's
Yeah,
almost unprecedented.
we went through that first section much faster than I thought we would.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Well, if there's nothing else, I mean, we've got
We have a number of things in the queue for sure that we'll be circling back to soon.
What are the big ones?
So the
whatever's
logging
happened to our XML? Oh, the logging stuff. I really want to talk about the logging stuff.
Yep, I have some initial
logging
stuff.
Stuff, progress monitoring. Those are two big ones.
Yep. Modularize is another one. Let scope / pattern width is another one.
Those are the same. Those are very related.
They're very related. They're kind of tied up in each other, which is why those two are.
Just to take a couple of minutes here, I would like to say that in the logging, I think it's going to be something like I'm going to suggest something like this, where like echo, logged is like echo.
Right. It returns the result and also preserves.
Right. And it's something like this. Very much like echo function logged at of this. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, and my notion would be that we'd have some sort of, like our various other configuration options. It'd be logging configurations where you could say my default logging method is this temporary file, or it is a cloud object, or it is whatever else that you could also set at a function level, but you'd have a.
What I think we should do is we should have logged like this, and with logging of a big expression, everyone with logging would do all the logs. If you didn't have with logging on the outside, the logs would do nothing. See what I'm saying?
Yep, they'd act as identity by default.
Right. And then with logging says, expression and, where. And it would have a one argument form that says with logging where, like this. But it might not just be where, it might be that we could also have stuff to log arrow where. Okay, so that's in the stuff to log would be this type of form here.
Okay.
So we could say logged of expr, comma, where.
We have to think about when to reset the log.
I see what you're saying.
I've done a lot of these for code that's running in the cloud, and you can't really access it while it's running, like in an API. And, thinking about when it's reset is very important.
Okay.
Or cleared.
Right. Right. So, I mean, if we've got a where, there can be a clear logging, but I think that we also might want, typically, you want the logging to happen as a side effect across a whole bunch of things. You don't just want it to be, so, I would say sometimes, see, for example, I might want something where I put logs all over the place. And I might want to display the logging in real time. I might conceivably want a logging monitor of Expa, which brings up this would bring up a blue monitoring stripe.
Okay.
Progress stripe,
progress monitor, effectively, but
right.
In this
That
case,
would be a nice thing.
Expa should be able to be a channel object.
Well, no, this Expa is what you're evaluating. Where would you saying could be a channel object?
Where could be a channel. I figured logging monitor would take the where.
Logging monitor is saying, maybe this should be monitor.
Monitor is a verb. I thought it was a noun.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
Monitor logging.
Okay.
Brings up a progress stripe. So that as you run Expa, it will monitor all the logging that's happening.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It'll effectively have like echo temporary under it, where it's
except that it'll go into the blue progress stripe.
Right. Yeah. And it'll still be logging. You'll just be seeing the updates in real time as well.
Potentially, yes. It'll have a backup log. Although you might want.
Is the progress monitor a separate where, like a location?
Yeah, probably.
And then if you want to see it, you would log to a file and to the monitor?
Yeah, probably. So monitor logging might only log to the monitor, to the progress stripe. Okay, so the where can be a progress monitor, progress stripe, or a file, or a channel.
Or a cloud object.
Yep.
Or list thereof.
Yes.
Yeah, log in parallel.
Right. So then I could imagine the issue is I create one of these things. Maybe what we want to do, let's say you say with logging, blah, 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 comma, cloud object. That's an anonymous cloud object. You've no idea where it is.
Yeah.
And it's not returned.
We could have with logging return an association with.
We could do it like
with logging holding. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be like reap. I'm not entirely keen on that. And I think there are cases where you just I don't need to see the logging. I just, I don't want to return the logging. This wants to be a thing which just returns Expa.
Yeah, I think the anonymous cloud object is kind of a garbage in, garbage out. It's like name it. Or just in there say logged CO equals. Right? Like it's.
Well, I think there are going to be cases where you make a log and 90% probability you never look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want the log to sit there forever. Well, anyway, this is a beginning of a design.
One other quick question. Are you thinking by default that we log just the input, or do we want control over? Obviously, the logged is going to be held, but are we logging the input and output?
Why is it going to be held? I mean, isn't it like echo?
Yeah, I mean it'll be like echo in terms of
Echo doesn't have a way. Is there? There's an
Don't we have
echo.
It's echo evaluation
echo evaluation. Yeah.
is the holding one.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, so we do the same thing here.
Okay.
I
I
found that
don't
wrapping
use them.
things in evaluation data is really useful, but
Mm.
people can just do that themselves, right? If they want.
I mean, so that would log both of them. I mean, I think the question of what it logs, there might be some global variable that you could set, but I think that it should have an option for logging template or something, arrow, and then it can have, time.
Timestamp. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, what is the log? Is the log a series of lines of Wolfram language data? I mean, it should be a JSON-like log where it's probably a series of association lines by default. And particularly with a new parser, I think that can be read very efficiently. And then it's maybe it's something like this. And then what you get from the log is you can read it into a time series or something, an event series.
But to ask if it should just be an event series.
I think not, because it's incrementally added to. Can't really do that. It's got to be a plain text file that you can just add things to. Well, now, okay, the one that is an in-memory one could be an actual event series. Anyway, this is what we need to talk about. And the progress monitoring thing is, that will be a thing like this. And the whole idea is that a ton of functions in the system are going to get progress monitoring by default.
Right.
Okay, because it's like everything that's slow, we're just going to try and put in a progress monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And because if you're not using it interactively, you never see it, you don't care. If you are using it interactively, keeping you entertained is a high priority. And I just think every time we have it, I mean, when we put that into parallel map, for example, what a win. Why not have it in map as well? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it really helps me to see that, it did, if I had that in map, it would be like, why not?
There's a nice one of these in the function repository called monitor progress.
That does on what kinds of functions?
Well, like map and, map thread, map index.
Yes.
Right? I don't know what the full list is, but there's
yes.
12
But that's
things
exactly
or
what we
something that it
should
works
build
on.
into the system.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the doc page right now. It looks like there's 30 or 40 functions it supports.
Yeah, well, so that's exactly what we should be doing. What is it called?
Monitor progress. And it only supports them if they're, at the top level of what goes into it.
Yeah,
It
right.
doesn't
But
find them deeply.
Yeah, right. But that's what we should be yeah, wonderful. I mean, that's more elaborate than I had in mind. I think the progress monitoring that we have for parallel map is very good in terms of the level of it. It's a simple one-line thing. And if it turns out occasionally you'll get multiple lines coming out, and that's okay. I mean, you can't have a whole page of these things coming up. But if you had 2 or 3 and there 2 and then there's 1 and then there's 3 and so on, that's okay if things are nested. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is exactly what we're looking at. Great. I mean, these are presumably up values of some kind, or maybe not. No, they're probably, this is a good place to start. Thank you to Lucas. Right. I mean, what we should do, this is great.
Yeah, there's like magic string operator forms that I've never used, but seem like they might be useful for binary control as well.
Well, that's a question of what the internal interface, what the API inside the code, which we're going to have to put such an API into things like map, right? So we need an efficient way to do that. I don't know what the interaction between logging and progress monitoring is. I'm not sure there is much. I think progress monitoring is really interactive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be on by default. You know, most of the time there's nothing you've set.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking is if there's some sort of automated hook to, if Progress Monitor has some sort of incrementing system, if there's some way to share that with the logging framework and say, auto log of evaluation. Okay. But yeah.
Should we auto log some progress monitoring? Mm-hmm. I think the answer to that might be yes. If it's enough time, it's worth logging it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing with logging, with logging could have an option for whether to auto log some progress. Another thing here is hooks for user functions to get progress monitoring.
Right.
And I think that would be, it's something like, well, I think it's very much like what was here: set progress monitor, increment progress monitor, and so on. That's not quite the right thing, but I mean, actually, well, I mean, this could mean bring up, it is if expa takes a long time, show a monitor for it. Okay, by default. And then the fancier version would be with monitoring of something where inside expa it says something like so monitor. Somewhere inside expa there's a so monitor, which sows to the nearest enclosing with monitoring. Something like that. And then a typical function would say, within that function, it would say with monitoring, and then it would say so monitor if it wants to have fraction complete or whatever else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'd want to kind of play around and see how all this works. But I'm thinking of all of the various iterations people have written of debug hooks in code that are off by default, where monitoring or logging would be nice things to substitute in when you're trying to poke through.
Yep. I mean, then this type of thing here, I agree that there's a combined logging monitoring thing that you might want here.
Mm-hmm.
To be thought about. Anyway, this is a good start. This is going to be great functionality. We should wrap up. See you all soon.
Yep. All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.